So the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which was a bipartisan bill that aimed to tackle housing affordability, officially became law Saturday. Now, this came despite a series of attempts by President Donald Trump to stall the legislation. We actually brought that to you here on Live Impact News when that first came down. But again, it's officially law, pushed through Congress. And this signals that lawmakers recognize the frustration many Americans feel about the high cost of housing. This is an everyday conversation, no matter where you go, especially here in Charlotte. So here to help us break down this legislation and what it means for folks here in our area, we have on Erick Exum. He's the National Director of Housing for Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. Erick, thank you for your time.
Sure, happy to be here.
All right, so let's navigate through this whole thing because I've gotten a couple of questions and I have questions of my own. So, what does this mean for first-time home buyers, also working class home buyers here, especially here in the Charlotte area?
So yeah, Charlotte is a particular market, but it's a step in the right direction. Last year, North Carolina, our state, try to do something similar when it comes to corporate landlords. So one of the big parts of the bill is that it's defining investors, corporate landlords, the Blackstones out there, the Invitation Homes, those who just gobble up the properties in cities like Charlotte and become those corporate landlords, and in many cases slumlords, set the rates of rents out there and don't allow affordable home ownership for working class people like our membership. So it is a step in the right direction. It's to be seen, how effective it'll be. Unfortunately, I'm not sure it's much of an immediate solution. Maybe a little more long term, because part of it is that they keep all the properties that they already bought in the Charlotte market and other markets. So they're going to continue to rent those out. So that part is a bit disappointing. Another major part of the bill changes the definition or what becomes a manufactured home. I'll be honest, I have some concerns about that because, it's already very challenging for people to get financing, certainly good financing, conventional loans for what's currently manufactured homes, the ones that require HUD tags, and that makes for affordable homeownership for some people. For financing to become that much more, challenging to obtain and putting that kind of inventory in the market, unfortunately, I anticipate that it's going to be investors who buy those because they're going to need to be cash purchases if you can't get good financing. And then those will become rental properties, and there are concerns about the quality of those properties out there. NACA ourselves, our organization, we put out there modular homes, which are much higher quality. So whether you use NACA or anyone else, just really do your homework about the quality of homes. Make sure you get great financing, and I'll talk about the NACA terms. But when it comes to this bill, it's to be seen. How it's a step in the right direction. It's to be seen how effective it's going to be for low moderate income people, for affordable housing, for working class people. You talk about Charlotte, unfortunately, we have a lot of working people in Charlotte who can't afford homeownership. People are moving here quickly. The price of housing has gone up. The key to making it affordable is going to be getting the best terms possible on a loan and finding properties for first-time home buyers that are reasonably priced.
Is that the first step to navigating when it comes to home ownership? Because I just feel like now, I'm a millennial. I feel like the conversation amongst us millennials is we don't want to buy a home. It's just too complicated. It's too expensive. I would rather stay in my my apartment, my townhome. But I guess I'm saying all that to say, is that the first step to navigating home ownership? Because eventually we're going to buy homes.
That's right. The first step to navigating home ownership is education, right? Go to sources that you can trust. Again, because we are the largest with most successful, affordable homeownership program in the country, I'd say, start the program with NACA, get a counselor. You have no obligation. All of our services are free. Sit down with somebody who explains to you what homeownership is, the long-term, how to be successful in long-term affordable homeownership, how homeownership. You said you're a millennial. One of the challenges you're going to have, and what working class people in Charlotte and throughout the country has, is your housing payment goes up significantly year after year after year when you're renting. Largely, this bill tries to address some of this, but largely because the landlords just keep increasing rent because more people move here, supply and demand. If you get into home ownership, you can stabilize that housing payment. It'll get up slightly for taxes and insurance, but once you get into a fixed rate mortgage, NACA only does fixed rate mortgage. As a matter of fact, we have the lowest rate in the industry. Our today's interest rate on a 30-year fixed is 5.75. Everyone gets that rate, regardless of credit score. We don't, 100% financing, all that. So the key is understand your mortgage, get into it where your mortgage or your housing payment doesn't go up significantly. Of course, you're building equity. You're right. It can seem daunting to get into home ownership. It could seem like you need a ton of money up front. With the NACA program, we do 100% financing. You need no money for down payment, very little money. It's lender paid. There's no closing cost or a lender paid. So, as you say, it can seem daunting getting into it. Get the education, get the help, work with programs like NACA, and understand home ownership so you can make great decisions so you can succeed in the future and really start building wealth, generational wealth with that.
I'm curious, what is this legislation? How does it impact housing supply, even competition when it comes to the housing market?
Great question. I'm not sure that it does impact housing supply immediately. Like we said, so what it does is it tells those who are defined as investors, corporate investors, those who own 300 properties or more, that they cannot continue buying properties. And there's penalties involved if they continue to do so. They get to keep the properties they currently have. So, we'll see what happens. Anticipations are they can go into sub companies or they can break up, and now you'll have smaller investors buying up to 300. You just have more smaller investors, particularly around the manufactured home piece, where those who cannot get financing or cannot get reasonable financing, those will end up being investor purchased. So, to be determined how much inventory does free up. I'm not sure that it's going to be an immediate solution, which is why you have to go out there, do your homework, get the best financing in America, use programs like NACA, use NACA to make home ownership affordable. It's a real crisis. I've been in Charlotte for 3 decades now, and I've watched the price of housing go from something reasonable where working class people can have a nice, safe, decent place to live to where it's a real challenge. And if you don't get good financing, you're not going to be able to sustain home ownership.
Yeah, you being in Charlotte, me being in Charlotte. Yeah, we've heard those stories from other folks who want to be here, but there are definitely challenges. My last question before I let you go, and thank you for your time. Where can folks get more information about NACA?
Absolutely. To get started, just go to www.naca.com. Go click on any of the home ownership. We have several programs, but the home ownership program, like I said, all of our services are free. Attend the home buyer workshop. It's educational. It'll teach you about home ownership. It'll teach you about the program. It'll teach you about other loans out there. It'll teach you how to stay away from predatory and discriminatory lending. We really have to right the wrongs of the challenges of housing in this country. This bill is a step in the right direction, dealing with some of the corporate landlord things. But overall, you have to do your own homework. You have to work with a program that works. No down payment, no closing cost, below market interest rates. We don't use credit scores. We look at the individual for who they are. Whatever the issues were, they might have had late payments. We get those issues resolved, get them ready for home ownership, and get them into affordable properties over the long term. And we've just started a program where we're building modular properties to create inventory. Like you said, one of the real problems out there, in addition to financing, is having affordable inventory. We're doing 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses all throughout the country for approximately $169,000. Where investors are trying to make profit when they buy houses, we're not looking for any profit. We're building them at cost, selling them at cost to help solve the problem for affordable homeownership.
Erick Exum, National Director of Housing for NACA, that is the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. Erick, thank you for your time and just helping us navigate this whole thing.
Pleasure. Good to talk to you.